Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 169th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by my fellow Hans Zimmer appreciator, Jaden.
G'day.
Good morning, and we've got PTA's number one fanboy, aka Fitzy, aka Liam.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Is the word William, does it come from Liam?
Does Liam come from William? Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. It does?
Apparently. Yeah, and Billy as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy's the obvious one, yeah.
But you're not William.
Nah.
Okay.
Hey, user friendship and you're only asking no?
No, I knew the answer, but for some weird reason, like I've done this intro so many times, and I really wanted to say AKA Fitzy, AKA William. I just wanted to do it. I don't know why. Like it was like this instinctual thing, but it makes no sense. I can't do it, can I? Oh well. Maybe you know what? Maybe I will just do it next time for fun.
Okay, Zachary, sure.
Thank you. But that is actually my name.
Yeah, true.
Zachary. Zachary's a weird name too, man. I'm not gonna lie.
No, you just have to pronounce it with either a H or a K at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And that'll get him. Yeah.
Zachariah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is The Hunger Games: Catching Fire, which opened in the US on November 22nd, 2013, almost 10 years ago. It was directed by Francis Lawrence. It is an action-adventure film, and the synopsis says, Katniss Everdeen and Peeta Mellark become targets of the Capitol after their victory in the 74th Hunger Games sparks a rebellion in the districts of Panem. Nice, okay. That was a very, very nice, non-spoilery synopsis, which I appreciate. All right, Jaden, how many times have you seen Catching Fire, and what the hell do you think about it?
I've seen it significantly less than the first one, but I've still seen it quite a few times. I was surprised at the quality this time. Genuinely, like I know I had it rated high prior to this, but like I going into it, I was almost blind because I haven't seen it in so long, and I was just really genuinely surprised by like how much I loved it and how high it kind of was in quality. I think it sacrifices on some of the artistry of the previous one, but I think it makes up for it in telling a more developed story. I think just about everything else is better in acting, CG. I think even like the way they present like thematic devices from the books, the way they translate it to screen, I think is great as well. Yeah, I think it was quite great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sounds like I'm right there with you because I think this movie slaps, dude. It is maintaining everything great about the first movie in terms of an entertaining first half outside of the games, which stands on its own in a lot of ways, and then stepping that up in a ton of areas as well, but mainly stepping up the games because I agree. Like the budget, the scale, the visual elements of the games are just all really strong this time. Yeah, man, I think this stays my favorite. I think this is a really, really good movie. Definitely an improvement over the first film, in my opinion, which was already really good. So yeah, no, I loved it. Fitzy, what about you?
Yeah, it sounds like I had the exact same experience. It was kind of shocking just how I love kind of like every second of it. You know, it was really good. You know, it's a great. It develops on it has the same kind of structure as the first one, but it develops in the first one in just a solid way where you can have this extra element of like uneasiness to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like the rebellion thing is kind of really stitched into the background, and you know, even the games, it's not like a repeat of the first game. It has a different dynamic, a secret kind of dynamic that you learn later, but everything about it is just kind of improved and great.
Yeah, absolutely. I do really feel that there is this underlying tension that builds really well in that first half regarding the political situation. Like you said, like it has a lot of time to really breathe and sit with you, and for some pretty decent drama to play out before it even becomes clear that they're going back into the games in this film. And I think, I was really, really impressed by that stuff this time. So I'm glad you brought that up. In that way, in terms of, thinking about the structure compared to the first film, which, we talked a lot about in the first review, how it really does feel like two films because there's that clear divide at the halfway point. This is similar. But how was for you, Fitzy, this time, like the first half versus the second half this time around? Because it sounds like you really like the second half, but like, was there more of a distinction, or like the balance between the two and their quality? You know what I mean? Like, how did you just
Right, yeah.
enjoy them together? Yeah.
Well, like, yeah, I enjoyed the games much more this time, and it's like the games have less like there's less like encounters in the games. There's like survival situations, but there's less like one-on-one and kind of like person to person encounters. It's more like against nature, and it more like utilizes the the CG and the environment more. But yeah, like it just flows really well. There's no like lapse of I didn't have like a lapse of kind of engagement as I might have had last time.
Yeah, sure. Are you the same way, Jaden? Like, do you think the games are a step up?
Yeah, probably. Just in that it is that bit more of a kind of dynamic experience and not as traditional as placing a character in the woods. I think I think what you're saying before about like how like it still kind of feels like there's a like that split halfway point. I think this one's far better integrated, just by nature of the through line of like all the characters into it, and kind of then understanding later like that later reveal as well makes that kind of transition even more neat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was really impressed this time with like just the concept of like we talk about some of the early scenes, but just the concept of like all of the games being made up of past victors, like the tributes are all past victors. It's just a really cool idea, and it totally changes the way you get introduced to all of the characters, and then how the sort of just all the dynamics between them and how the games play out. Yeah, it does make for within the games themselves because it's so much more built around these alliances. It does really change. Like a lot of the sequences feel much more like sort of set pieces, like Fitzy said, against the environment, or just sort of larger CG, like shit going on, as opposed to combat stuff. And I don't know, I just thought it was just such a cool idea, and we get introduced to so many cool cast members I want to talk about, but like the way it also changes the whole build up to the games as well, like how because they're all previous victors, they all have some sway, and like the little stuff they try and do, like trying to campaign to stop the games subtly in their interviews prior was really cool, and why they all hold hands at the end is great as well. So like it's just a great way to make these games and the build up to them stand out compared to the first one. I don't feel like I'm doing the same shit again. Like it does really feel like, even though it very much follows the same beats and you go through the same process that they go through in the first movie of all the different steps before the games, it feels remixed in a really interesting way where you don't know who's going to react in what way and how everything's sort of changed, So I was impressed by that for sure. And I was also just, I don't know, I totally agree that games were stepped up. I probably still enjoyed the first half a little bit more again, actually.
Mm.
And part of that is because like that it all starts, I think, with that Katniss and Snow scene in her house. Really, really good scene. And like the character and political conflicts are just so strong there. And everything that sets up for the first sort of half an hour where like Snow tries to make them political pawns, and the way that works against him, and it's all just very interesting stuff. When the way District 11 plays out is pretty brutal. Everyone, like I just thought of that Fallout 4 thing where everyone disliked that. After when after that, and they have to go to every crowd and like just do the same shit. But yeah, I don't know, like the way they get more into like the actual overall conflicts within the landscape of Panem, it's like, and just learning more about Snow and all those scenes with Snow where he's like trying to think about his strategy and think about, basically you get some insight into how he dictates, I guess. It was quite interesting. You see that he's very mindful and emotionally intelligent for a dictator, I would say. And, that scene where he's like, fear doesn't work if there is hope, no matter how much fear you put out there. And it's like just him saying that and being aware of that in the position he is like kind of interesting to me. And just, continues to further how interesting of a character I feel like he is. So yeah, I don't know, like a lot of those earlier scenes were really good, I thought. When you said, Jane, regarding the thematic devices from the books, is that related to this sort of rebellion stuff and the political stuff at the start? I thought it might be, but I just wanted to ask.
Yes, kind of. I think that, like that. Sorry, it took me a while to think about what I was actually talking about. Yeah, mainly it was about like stuff at the start. Some of the Victor's right as well.
Okay. Do you mean like when they
Yeah.
like what the situation ends up being in District 12 in terms of like how violent it gets and stuff? Is that what you mean?
I meant more as like literally like what Suzanne Collins tries to convey through words, just themes, like the themes that she tries to convey
Yeah.
are adapted really well here, but through a different medium.
No. I totally get it. It's been so long since I've read those books. Is it things like fear and like that snow thing I was talking about? Is it things like that and how far you push people and that kind
Yes,
of shit
yeah,
and
a
violence?
lot of it, yeah, a lot of it was that.
Okay, cool. Is there also an aspect? Because another note I had throughout all this stuff from looking at it from Katniss's point of view was like seeing. She says at one point she wishes she hadn't eaten the berries, so everyone would be safe, and everything would just continue as it was. And so basically, she's saying she wished. At this point, she basically, I guess, sees the capital as undefeatable. So she's thinking, "Oh, I'd just save everyone all this trouble if I hadn't even done this in the first place." But there is something interesting there where it's like that. Well, I mean, that's fear talking in her, obviously, and she's reluctant to become the leader or the face of something that's going to put a lot of people in danger. But it's also really important she did it, and just sort of that back and forth of how far do you go or what are you willing to do, to make a change, basically. And at that point, she sort of is reluctant to push that envelope. I assume that's sort of part of the books as well. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I just felt like that was pretty important.
Yeah, for sure.
There are some great new additions to the cast this time, I gotta say. Snow basically, it was interesting. This was something that made the first half feel really organic, as well as the fact that Snow goes through 2 other strategies and conversations with Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. What's he? Oh my god, he's got such a dumb name. Isn't it like Plutarch Heavensby? Is that what it is?
Plutarch. Yeah, that's right.
It's one of the worst names of all time. Anyway, imagine naming a character that. I guess is the idea. I guess he's meant to be like, we're meant to think he's like a pretentious capital person. So I guess that is kind of a fancy name for that kind of thing.
Yeah, there was like a moment when like Evie's character, what's her name? Effie? Yeah. She like calls the 2 other people in the capital, and they also have like pretentious like long Greek names. So
yeah. No, that actually is kind of funny, but it's impossible. I'm not going to remember it, I don't think. Anyway, like I really enjoyed all the scenes with him and Donald Sutherland, because like before they even get to putting them back in the games, like the story really justifies the choice to do it, because it takes them. You see the progression of the mindset of the capital of Snow himself. Obviously, it's like, well, it doesn't just jump to it. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is a second Hunger Games movie, so I'm just going to make this decision in one scene to put them back in the games. You know what I mean? I just felt like it took them half an hour of like multiple scenes with Snow where he has to justify getting to the point where they realize, oh, this is what we're going to do now, because these other things didn't work. He gave them the opportunity on the tour to, convince everyone that that they were in love or whatever. That didn't work. And that's like 25 minutes in the movie, Then after that, he still tries and, does the thing where he broadcasts a lot of dangerous stuff and violent stuff going on in the districts and stuff. And that doesn't work either. So then you eventually get to the games. And by that point, it just feels like a very logical step. It just sort of makes perfect sense and actually feels smart as opposed to forced. So I thought that was clever. I really liked that. Obviously, that's from the book, I assume. Although, actually, the book wouldn't have scenes from Snow's perspective, would it?
I don't recall. I think it definitely would cut away to him.
Okay.
But I also feel like... let me check if there's a difference in the versions, if there's a few versions, because I feel like I was missing scenes this time.
Oh, in the film?
Just before that, I agree about everything you said about Snow is really great. Like his his emotional intelligence, is the way he tries to manipulate the the media and his ideology through all really well. I don't think I don't know what he actually like believes. I mean he believes in what he's doing, I guess. I guess we'll see that in the prequel. But like yeah, the way he's like smart about it is really cool, and his conversations and his drip, dude, his fashion. He looks so good. And that scene where he's like at the house, he's like really sick. But his conversations with Plutarch, I think Philip Seymour Hoffman's really good at playing a character that even this time I felt like ambivalent about, because he plays the kind of, you know, mastermind character really well, and the kind of guy who feels a bit distant from the capital but still like really into the manipulation aspect, I guess, or I don't know whatever it is, the master kind of aspect. So yeah, he's just really great in it. And like, yeah, having those two veteran actors being like some of the main focuses of the film was really like a strong choice. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point, because I don't think, if you just watch the film, I don't think you can really see the twist coming necessarily that he's actually good the whole time. I think that's well hidden.
Yeah.
But there is this, I agree in that there is this small element of like that first scene that he has with Katniss at the party where, you know, they dance and that conversation they have. There is this sense in it, not that there's anything like necessarily fishy strictly about him, but there is this sense that he acknowledges in some way that like the capital, he's self-aware that the capital is sort of whack, and like he sort of says that, and that being you getting that from him right away makes sort of everything else fall into place.
Yeah. Like even the way he says like are you enjoying the party and that kind of thing, and the way he kind of warms up to her was very like empathetic, and like yeah, he does feel like he's aware of the kind of ridiculousness of the capital. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It also led to that conversation. I mean, I love your point about the media as well, and that was obviously a part of the first film. But I feel like seeing them actually make decisions about what is broadcast even only furthers the whole media sort of commentary. But like in that one scene, I loved, dude, like Philip Seymour Hoffman's delivery of the line when he says, "What's the cake gonna be? Executions." Like the way he said that was so funny to me. I just thought it was great. Like, what's the dress gonna be? Beheadings.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of Snow, like going back to that for a second, because this movie in particular, and I hope this continues, but this is making me more and more excited for the November movie, because I thought the concept sounded cool in the first place, but this is just reminding me how interesting Snow is. So then now hopefully when I dive into the film, like I'm just going to be even more interested and invested in whatever the hell we learn about him. You know, I'm like genuinely really care about it now. It's cool.
Yeah, because I don't know about the next two films, but like as I was saying earlier, I don't think you reveal. I don't think it reveals the reasons why he believes what he does, or he does what he does. Although, like, you totally believe it. So. But
I think there's an interesting. It creates a parallel between like characters that come in the later two films.
Oh yeah.
So you kind of do get a reveal. So it kind of does reveal his senses in that way that you see it mirrored.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I also know what you mean. But yeah, I'm super stoked to see that backstory now, like even more so. And like having all of his scenes, Donald Sutherland great as always, but like in that scene, like I love the choice to have his granddaughter in the scenes. Like that's every time. Like I think she has 2 lines or something, but like every time it's like it feels perfect that there's like the person sitting right there next to him is like the future and has this different view of Katniss. It's just really interesting. I like it. Were there multiple versions of the film, Jaden?
No, I was wrong. I guess I was perhaps remembering visualizations in my head from the book.
Oh, sure. I guess so. There was one thing. Yeah, I was reading in the trivia. I got a bit more trivia about the world building again, but that I thought was cool. But I was reading in the trivia about the Avoxes, and I totally forgot about them. But they're not.
Yeah.
Do they come in later into the films, or because they are mentioned heavily in the books? But
I don't remember. I don't think so, because they're only in the capital, right? Or are they in the districts as well?
No, I think they're only in the capital. Yeah, because Katniss had never heard of them, right?
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Because I read trivia that there's like you can see one in the background in this movie, but they just don't touch on it. You know. Yeah, for those that don't know, those are the characters who in the capital, they're like servants of the capital, but they have no tongues, and it's kind of gross, kind of messed up. There we go. Oh, yeah. Well, we talked about Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's great. We got a few new cast additions as well. I mean, in terms of some of the recurring cast, like, dude, Stanley Tucci just cracks me up so much in this movie. I feel like he's even better in this one. Like, some of it, like, the way he laughs is so great. Oh, my God. It was cool to see Effie sort of develop a little bit as well, seeing that she, get into the team spirit a little bit. I thought that was cool. And then from there, I mean, we talk about, you're, of course, I'll spare you the Team Gale versus Team Peeta thing, but I will say that I'm Team Finnick, personally. You know what I mean? He's great. I don't know who that actor is. He's so familiar to me, but he was great. He's got a wife?
He's got a partner.
Oh, yeah.
Or he's got a partner at least.
Yeah. Is that... So the girl Annie volunteered for was his partner. That was the idea?
Annie is his partner. Mags was the one that volunteered in place, I think.
Oh, yes. Sorry, yes. Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I didn't think Mags was his partner necessarily,
I think this film is kind of where it shows. I think this is where it kind of exposes. I think the whole Team Gale, Team Peeta thing is just so crap, and I think this film reveals why it's crap, because neither is a good suitor for Katniss, and it doesn't matter. And the fact that the media in the real world focused on that is kind of annoying and disappointing.
Did they actually though? I actually don't know.
I feel like they did, because I feel like they were trying to mirror the Twilight thing of Jacob or the other guy.
Yeah, I just find that funny. Yeah.
And I just think it doesn't have its place here. I think it does probably in the books where it's a bit more fleshed out, and there is definitely a triangle because it's a young adult novel. But I think it's definitely stupid.
I can't believe you've positioned me to have to defend it, Jaded. But but dude, in this movie, it's much more clear that Katniss has a romantic relationship with Gale. That's much more established. They kiss multiple times, I think, and you have this whole extended thing where it's how much she cares about Gale. Much more dude. He had way more to do in the opening of this movie. And I feel like this is way more established compared to then when she has to go back to Peeta and the act continues there. I feel like there's just a lot more there this time compared to the first one.
But I think this film it exposes, it starts to reveal the rifts between Gale's thinking and Katniss's thinking, and because she does end up with him, right?
That's true.
She does end up with Peeta. I think this is where it starts to show the divide between them, and that only really does grow. But I don't think Peeta was ever a genuine interest to her either. I think she does buy into the games eventually at the end. It's kind of bittersweet in that she does marry Peeta, right? I hate it. I hate the love triangle.
What else we have? Yeah, Finnick was great. There were just tons of recognizable faces in this movie. Again, you had Jeffrey Wright turn up. He's great. Let's just make sure we watch the same movie. And
I only recognized him as Bernard, and I just kept on thinking of him as Bernard.
Oh, it's that's his real name. It's Bernard playing Beatty. Yeah, no, that was good stuff, dude. All of the trivia for this movie, I'm not even kidding. Probably half of it was just about the Jenna Malone strip scene. Just all of the trivia. It was Jenna Malone actually stripped in the elevator, and then scroll down 3 and there's another rewritten version of the same thing. It's oh my God, guys, calm down.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, she apparently did actually strip in the elevator, so there you go.
Jenna Malone was quite a big thing, wasn't she? But I feel like she's kind of not now.
Oh, as an actress.
Right, Liam? Yeah, I feel like you can talk to that, Liam, right? I don't
know. Well, I don't know how big she was after Donnie Darko, but because that was 12 years or something earlier, so there would have been a mediated film between them. But I can't think of anything at the moment. But
I just feel I used to see her name crop up a lot more in the media.
Yeah. I think she was big after this film.
But it's sort of it's sort of not dissimilar to Josh Hutcherson, maybe, because he was big. I haven't seen him in ages.
I still see his name pop up often.
Do you?
Well, more than Malone, to be fair. But I mean, he's got FNAF coming, and he was in Upgrade, wasn't he? And he's got that other quirky, weird sci-fi show.
Oh, okay.
I think he's got his projects that carry through to the popularity kind of side.
Okay, I get you. I bet Fitzy was absolutely stoked when Jack Quaid got his 1 second cameo, though. His PTSD cameo.
That's second of the movie right there.
How much do you reckon he got paid for that 1 second shot?
Okay.
I'd love to know. In terms of the games themselves, though, we've already touched on it. This was a perspective I wanted to get your thoughts on, Jaden. Like, how obvious to you, if you can try and get back to the space when you're reading this book for the first time, like reading or watching or anything, like, how obvious to you was it that they were going to go back into the games in this second one?
Great question. Before I started reading the books, I thought that all 3 books were the one Hunger Games. Like I thought that one game that Katniss was in continued for the 3 books. Before I started reading them. That's
weird to think about now, but I sort of understand why you think that.
So when the Hunger Games ended in the first one, I remember being distinctly confused as like what the fuck they're gonna do. So like I don't know, for 12-year-old me, 11-year-old me, however old I was, I think I had no clue what was happening. It was a very exciting kind of journey to go on.
That's awesome. Yeah. I had a very similar thing. I felt pretty dumb. I had no clue. Like when I was reading that book and it was revealed I have to go back into the Hunger Games, like literally as I was reading it, I was like, I remember being like, wow, this is like a plot twist to me. But but it probably sounds really stupid because everyone else, like my brother's never seen these movies, and he was like right at the start of the first one, he was like, okay, are they just going to have to go to the Hunger Games 4 times, knowing there's 4 movies? And like, it's funny, my brain never worked that way when I started this series. I just never considered it. I don't know why.
Well, he's still wrong.
He is wrong about that, yes. But it's funny. But it's just funny that like some people think it's really obvious. Of course, they're going to go to do the Hunger Games multiple times, and I just had never considered it at all.
Well, after finishing the first book, I think my thought was that we're going to see her become a mentor for a few books.
Oh, sure. Shit. Yeah. That would have. Yeah, that's kind of interesting too. I don't know if you even have an answer to that, Fitzy, but because I assume maybe like if you'd just seen trailers for this movie and that's all you knew, like maybe like that would obviously.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, because I think I saw this at the cinema in 2013. So I would have just seen the trailers.
Yeah. I felt like the only person on earth who had no idea at some point. But this time, I noted the games actually begin past halfway through the film. The film's about 15 minutes longer, so it ends up being pretty similar to the first one. But of course, got some big trivia, which I loved, by the way. A total of 48 minutes, including the entirety of the arena sequences, were shot with IMAX cameras. How did we dig that IMAX transition when she comes out of the elevator, ascends into the games?
Well, Stan didn't change the bars, so I didn't even notice a massive transition.
Wait, really? Stan didn't change the bars?
Netflix, they don't usually change the bars. Yeah.
Netflix 100% changed. It went to IMAX.
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
It did.
They don't usually, but they didn't for Interstellar.
Oh, really? Well, maybe it depends on the movie. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a bummer. Jaden, how did you watch it? Did it happen?
Yeah, I watched it on Netflix.
Yeah?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. No, that's a bummer.
I
loved it. I thought it was so cool.
Was it all the arena scenes or was it just part of it?
No, it was all of it. Yep.
Okay. Well, so I don't remember the transition though then, but I feel like I do remember a full screen for the arena.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. It was totally full screen.
Yeah. Okay.
It would. Okay. Oh, dude, you should go back and rewatch the scene when she comes out of the elevator. You know, when Cinna gets beat up.
Yeah.
And it starts there, and it's like it's 235, and then she starts rising, and like the second they cut to the shot where like you get like she's still in there, but the shot's sort of looking up, and you get like the glimpse of the sky. It it goes wide, but your brain doesn't really register it because it's still sort of dark. And she rises out, and it was so cool. I thought it was awesome, and and it just suddenly you feel like as you enter into the arena, it feels like a whole new like level of immersion is entered on my screen. And it's so funny because like I'm just watching it on my TV, so it's not even like it can reach its full effect or anything like that. But I still thought it was really neat. I thought it was really cool. It worked for me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you watch it, not full screen. So like if you have like still have like the internet tab visible, like the film's already like cropped in for some reason.
Oh,
So I didn't have it full screen. So like I like the screen did widen, but it didn't like the black bars on the side were still existing. So like
it was less
I think I didn't
obvious.
realize because of that. Yeah.
Wait, so hang on. Wait, you watched the film with like Chrome tabs up the top?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I did it like that last night, but I just did. Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was strange.
Oh god, you're getting me close to becoming like Nolan level pretentious with this man. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's like triggering. Anyway,
I don't know.
how did we feel about like the opening itself, and even just like the setting of the games, the visual elements of these games compared to the first one? Because like for me, I just thought the tropical setting and the water element, especially the cornucopia, was much cooler.
Well, I like the way how like in the books they detail that like fuck all the tributes can swim because there's no like water in like their districts.
True.
But obviously you lose out on that detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it definitely has a cool element.
For sure.
Like visually, I'm not overly keen on the tropic theme, but like,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I think dynamically.
Oh, I think it's much cooler. Like compared to the, I understand the original is the original, so it's like you'd understand it's to be like the most base version of it to let audiences understand it the easiest. I get that, but like it was just like a patch of grass. You know what I mean? Like this is just so much cooler. I think when they come out and it's like, yeah, it feels like this tropical island thing and the waves and the way they spin the island eventually when they get there. I just think it's neat as. I think it's really cool.
Does this arena feel smaller than the other one? It does, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like the other one felt like it was like this one you can walk across in a few hours. The other one felt like it was like a day.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I wonder how you feel about that, about that, Fitzy, because I think I like that better than the first one. Because in the first one, you remember that scene in the first one where Katniss, she like escapes the zone with the fire, and she comes out and and then the careers are all there, and because the idea was that they lured her to them, and they're already just there, but it's sort of just like, as the viewer, you don't have a sense of geography within the arena itself. It's sort of just happens, and it's like, there's something wrong with it. But in this film, I have a much stronger sense. You sort of understand where everyone is in relation to each other when they're describing it. Like in that scene when they're describing, the strategy of should we hang out at the beach or not, and in relation to everywhere else. Because especially, I think earlier, there's a shot where like you can basically see the whole arena, knowing where the force field is. Anyway, yeah, keeping all that in mind, like, it feels a lot smaller, but it creates more tension because you actually can sort of picture and understand where the others might be. I think it does a much better job of that. Yeah, so I hadn't really considered it, but I like it a lot. How do you feel about all of that, Fitzy, the setting, or did you have maybe a standout set piece within the games that really stood out to you this time?
Yeah, I agree with you about like the simplicity of the geography. It makes it much easier to understand that it's just divided into like 12 parts, and it's a smaller kind of map, and you don't have like rivers and crevices and stuff. You just kind of have a jungle, like on the outside. I do feel like in the first one you understood more, like where the careers were. They kind of showed you the map, like in the actual, in the room where they make. They make stuff for the games, you understood
the
like
control center,
the position, control center. Yeah. You understand like the positions of other people more. But like, for the main group, it's easy to understand like where they are and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the fog thing was really amazing. That whole sequence was really brilliant. I don't know, like it was like something. It was very pretty horrific. The capostles, the freaking moles.
Oh, the shit on your face. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it was like a really good. It was kind of like the crackerjack or the the crackerjack thing in the first one where it was like the beers. It felt like an improved version of that.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, the way the sequences. Yeah, I don't know. Just the way the games flow this time is really fun. Like I think all the sequences are quite memorable. Like even down to it's not my favorite, but even down to the one where, just because it's different. Like when they have the what are they called? The birds that like are meant to sound like, family members or whatever.
The Mockingjay.
Oh, are they Mockingjays?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay, well that's pretty cool. Like even down to that, like that, just because that's just sort of a different level of torture being inflicted, so that's kind of different. That's cool.
They had a different name in the film though.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Because like
Oh, Jabberjays. Sorry,
Jabberjays, that's
Yeah,
what it was.
because the Jabberjays and the Mockingbirds. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And then, so all those sequences are quite memorable and flow together, with I think the spinning island probably being the most similar to the first movie, just in terms of it's the most like, archery, combat, axe throwing stuff we get. But even the fact the island is spinning adds a new element to it. And then sort of, in between, there's just these cool little scenes, character interaction scenes of planning and, who do you trust? And I just eat all that stuff up. I think it's really cool. My favorite set piece, though, is probably the monkeys, dude. They suck. They're so bad. But because they're the worst. You know what I mean? They look really good. And I think that's where the budget feels stepped up, especially compared to like the weird dogs from the first one.
Yeah.
But they were terrifying, man. I couldn't stand them. Yeah, they were a standout. They were scary.
Well, they go right from like one to the other as well, because they go like in terms of the clock structure, but they go from like 1 hour to the next.
Yeah.
So like they they go to the lake and they're healed and they look right up at the freaking vicious monkeys, which was like fun in a combat sense, I guess, because like the acid stuff, it was just like running away from and like trying to like carry people and shit and like have like keep the resources like going.
Yeah.
But like here you had like all three of them like fending off the monkeys, So that was fun.
Yeah. No, 100%. I must say though, I mean, the whole Mags being in there was cool because she's so screwed the entire time, and I liked her ending in the scene that you're talking about, Fitzy. Dude, Peeta is an absolute chump in these games, though, man. Like, he is actually significantly worse than even the first one. And it wasn't even like his performance in the first one was that impressive. God, he gets like carried, and like I know he literally gets carried, but I'm like,
yeah. He's a damsel in distress. Yeah.
Oh, big time, man. I don't think he does anything useful in this entire thing. I'm not going to lie. Except almost die.
Like, I felt like when he went face to face with the monkey, he was actually like, fending them off a little bit. I was like, okay, Peter. You know
he started waving his hand around. Oh my God, Peter's doing something, everyone. Look.
I thought he was going to start just slaughtering them all, getting them to the beach.
Katniss, made the promise to Haymitch, wanted him to live so bad. He didn't stand a chance. Are you kidding me? If these games if the ending didn't play out the way it did, and these games actually, went to a finish.
Well, that's why he's so like intent on allies in the first one and the second one. He's like,
he knows his shit.
He's always strategic. He's always like strategizing with Haymitch and saying what he can do to like not fight.
Yeah, I guess so. In the first movie, Peter's and Katniss's training scores. The scale is 1 to 12. Peter was 8. I'm just going to pause there for a second. How the fuck did Peter get an 8 in the first one, Jaden? What did he do?
Because of his strength. He was showcasing how strong he is.
Dude, I don't think he ever used that in the games. Oh my God. Anyway, sorry, I will continue with the actual trivia though. Peter was 8 and Katniss was 11. In this movie, you don't see what their training scores are, but in the books, they both get 12s. They're the only tributes to ever get 12s, and it is suggested it's because the game makers want to punish them and make them targets for the other tributes. Pretty smart. Makes a lot of sense. I just noted that because I noted they didn't give them scores this time.
Yeah, that's one of the scenes I actually thought was missing. I thought we saw that in the movie.
Yeah. I feel like that was a good choice though, because like it subtly takes the focus away from the like competition element of the games. And like it's the same thing with. I mean, they do like a short showcase of like showing how OP the other, like District 1 and 2 guys are, but it's not as like extensive as the first one.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's also why Peter's even more useless because like all the other people are like experienced killers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did Peter? I don't think he killed anyone in the first games.
I don't think he killed anyone in the second game, did he?
Oh God, no! I'm not even. I'm writing the second ones off.
He killed that guy in the when they were.
Oh, in the water. Yeah, that's right. He drowns the guy. Yeah.
What does he do?
Because they both go under, and then you hear a cannon, and then you have to wait for like one of them to
yeah. Yeah, no, that's true.
He probably just got lucky. To be fair, it was probably like a fish or something that killed the other guy.
That would fucking shark down there.
Oh, you wouldn't put it past them. Okay, cool. Do water in trees actually work like that?
Yeah. That's a real device.
Yeah, but like, but No, I figured that, but like, is it actually that
In
impressive?
in certain trees, I think like the story like it is like I think that's how you like the way I mainly know that is like that's how you, like it's a maple tap. You know, that's how you get like maple syrup out of trees and shit like that.
Oh,
Is what I thought its like actual use was.
okay. No, that makes sense. I was just curious because, like, I'm sure it works to an extent, but I sort of, for some reason, pictured it in real life being like you do it and then, like, I don't know, a few drops coming out or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, they got some good water from that. It's like the best donation anyone could ask for, really.
Mm. Maybe it's like the tropical thing. Maybe it's tropical trees do that. Who knows?
True. Yeah, maybe. Transitioning a little bit here to the ending. I assume, because I wrote down as a note at the time when it happened, did the Morphling sacrifice herself? That's like the Druggo from whatever District 6 or something. But I assume that's all just meant to be the fact that she was in on saving Katniss from the start, right? And that's what that ended up being? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Peeta, yeah. She saves Peeta.
Yes. Actually, she does, yes. In terms of the ending, though, this is the only part of the film I'm a little bit unsure about. I have a little bit of uneasiness towards. And that is in relation to, is it underwhelming a little bit, you know? Did this feeling linger with you guys at all?
No, not really. No. I thought,
Okay.
yeah. No.
You just thought it was like solid. You wanted to get to the next one because I assume with it being the cliffhanger, it is. I assume you just want want to be excited for the next one.
Yeah, it feels no, like I like the way the end, like with the tree, like the ending in the games kind of happens where it's very like disorientating, and you don't know like what the hell happened at the tree. You don't know what happened with Peeta. You don't know what happened in general. The ending where it's like there is no District 12, and with like half of the tributes have been in on it is kind of like it feels almost like fan fictiony, but it works really well. Because it like skips a lot, and there's like a lot that you don't see. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think it works after like the disorientation and the fact that like everything makes sense still. It doesn't come out of nowhere because there was like 3 or 4 times where people sacrifice themselves or tried to sacrifice themselves, in the games.
Yeah.
And then you also saw the riots in the background when like Katniss like looks at the monitor and stuff. So I feel like
yes,
it makes a lot of jumps, but it's all accounted for. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Maybe that's why I don't think it's bad. I didn't find it that satisfying this time. I don't know. I agree. Like I do really like the idea that half the tributes were in on it. I think it's more than anything probably like the actual final scene, like when she wakes up for the second time and Gale's there. Wasn't as resolute. Like I understand it's meant to be obviously be a cliffhanger, but I felt like there was almost zero resolution in and of itself of anything, where it just sort of felt a little lacking for me. Like especially I don't know, like when even emotionally, like when he says there is no District 12, but everyone made it out that we know, so I don't really care. Sorry, you know what I mean? That was at least my reaction to it. Like if there was a bigger reveal of something or something worse had happened, even like I don't know, like I understand a whole like portion of the country was wiped out. It's pretty bad, but like it and the way he just describes it though. So like I don't know, I was lacking. Maybe I needed at least a visual or at least more of a stakes thing for me to care a little bit more. Especially when like Peter's just sort of gone. That is true. That was quite disorienting. But maybe if we'd like had a shot of Peeta, I don't know. There was like something in the way these little last 2 scenes sort of flowed. It was a bit.
But
off.
then what you're describing risks what you were talking about like the last time in that you don't really want to cut away from Katniss's point of view at this point because you're so ingrained in it. If you show Peeta getting taken or where he is in the capital, or if you show District 12 getting firebombed, it also cheapens I think the reveals in Mockingjay then.
Possibly. No, I think that's fair. I'm still like visualizing a version of the film where you sort of can just cut to a ruined District 12, but Gale's commentary he's still talking. You know what I mean? Like you don't leave the scene audio wise. I don't know. I feel like you can do something like that. I don't know. That was just a little hesitation, but I do like the direction of the story and the fact that, like I said, they were all in on it and the revolution has begun. Like that is a cool point to head into the next film on. No doubt about that. Another weird one, I'm not going to lie. It felt like, like the whole like really long animated logo they do at the end. It felt like someone worked really hard on that for way too long in Cinema 4D and just really wanted to show it off. It was kind of weird. It just kept going.
They had a whole team for that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just like you expect like a quick logo flash at the end of your movie, and it just like went for like 20 seconds. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's weird.
Because it's catching fire, like you see the logo as it catches fire.
Yeah. It was pretty. It was pretty on the nose. I got it.
But
I mean, in terms of District 12, sorry, Fitzy, go for it.
Well, I was just saying, like, when I talked about like the disorientation of the ending, I wasn't talking about after the games. I was talking about like in the games when like they have to go to the water, and then you don't like really know. You don't know where Peter's gone then, and you don't know where a bunch of people are. Like,
yes, and you don't know why Joanna attacked her.
Yeah. So, and then like the last thing is like, Snow wanting her to shoot Finnick, which like, I think even this time I felt it was like a very real possibility because you don't have the full picture yet. You don't know about half the contestants' tributes being in on it.
That's true. Yeah,
stuff like that.
Like Finnick could have betrayed them at that point. We don't know.
Yeah, and she's like hiding from him beforehand, which I thought was like I still trusted Finnick, but it was like, yeah, I don't know. I just love the way the games ends. It's really good.
Yeah. Sorry, speaking of District 12 exploding, I was trying to figure out like what the populations are meant to be of the districts compared to the capital and their size and stuff. I don't know if Jaden has some insight, but I just thought it was interesting how the districts multiple times in this movie are described as towns. You know what I mean? Not states, not cities, not and they do sort of feel like when you just seeing them on screen, like to me, they give me the vibe of somewhere that has like a population of max 20,000 people. That's sort of the impression I get. Well, I mean, obviously, like, when there's the reaping scene and like everyone's meant to be there and there's like clearly only like 1,000 people there. But, I assume that's not like literally meant to represent everyone. So I sort of assume it's meant to be a bit larger than that maybe. But anyway, I was just trying to like put a picture on that in my brain. I don't know if you know, Jaden.
Like, so there isn't like the official map like we talked about last time, but like the map that like most people go by, like the districts are quite large, like multiple states large, mostly. Some of them are a bit smaller. Yeah, I actually don't know. That's an interesting question. Unless like they are like large areas that are just sectioned off into like a very small portion, and the rest of it you just call uninhabited because you can't like control like that large of an area. Maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And like the districts themselves are like significantly large areas. Like they'd have to be to cover the continental United States, like they do. But yeah, that is true. I mean, we know there's like woods and shit that you're not meant to leave the border and that kind of thing. Yeah, that sort of makes sense. And when they refer to District 12, like traditionally they're more just talking about the small controlled area of where people live. Here's some good backstory lore that I thought was interesting. The book describes the two previous quarter quells. For the first one, district members had to vote on who would be selected as the tributes. That is brutal. But I feel like that'd be kind of fun, in its own way. You know what I mean? The second had twice as many tributes, 2 boys and 2 girls from every district. And the book also explains that is the games that Haymitch won.
Oh, wow. So he came from the cream of the crop there.
He absolutely did. Do you remember how Haymitch won, Jaden? Like his strategy or whatever? How he did
it? He used the force field, and like that's a big deal in the book, I think, because like he's familiar with force fields before like Beatty introduces her to it, I think. But yeah, because like he doesn't actually kill the last person.
No, that's what it was. Sorry. I actually read this. I read this before. It was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was he lured the other person to the force field, and they threw an axe and it bounced back and killed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's kind of cool. Good job, Haymitch. Well done. Did the score stand out to you guys at all? I thought it was, again, sort of sticking with the theme of this conversation. I thought it was a step up again. I just thought it had some nice themes, and especially the opening stuff when they do some of the whistling, and they continue to incorporate that more and more, which makes sense. I thought it was good.
Oh yeah, I mean, in general, the main theme is really awesome. Like the
this was not the score, but this was the back of the days when movies had soundtrack albums that you release, and you get like a bunch of fucking artists, and you like make a song for this movie, And like the closing credit one was Coldplay, which is great. But like there is so many like across this one and like the Mockingjay like soundtrack, there's so many good tracks. Especially on the Mockingjay soundtrack, you got Lord,
Wow.
where you have Flicker, and then or the like Yellow Flicker bit, whatever. But then the Kanye West rework of that into just Flicker, fucking awesome. Like back in like these days of movie soundtracks, like artists with like artist contributions, fucking fantastic.
Is Barbie like the most recent example of that? Probably. I guess so. I haven't heard of it in a while.
Yeah, I guess. A lot of young adult movies back then did, like the Spider-Man movies did.
Yeah.
But Insurgent did, and Divergent and all that shit. Actually, like Haim and like MA3 on it. Like these soundtracks had like massive artists on them as well.
Yeah.
Not just shitty indie people.
No, for sure. This was weird. I read in the trivia that Ed Sheeran wrote 3 different songs for this movie and they were all rejected. So I don't know what the hell's going on there.
Yeah, even there, fucking because he ended up writing for The Hobbit.
Oh, that song's awesome. By the way.
Yeah, like these are peak days, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, that credit song's fantastic. You guys could probably maybe predict I was going to ask this, but I had to. I thought it was too good of a conversation to pass up. The drink that you can have to make you sick and keep eating, yay or nay?
Absolutely not. Bro, the feeling of throwing up is so shit. Any people that do tackies are just fucking beyond me. Because like,
what is that?
A tactical vomit.
Oh, what? People actually do this. Like, not with the drink, obviously, but like the idea.
Well, yeah. So like if you're feeling queasy, well, like often people like tacky on night outs. You drink, and you're just about to cross the border, but like I want to keep on going in the night. I don't want to throw up and get kicked out of the club. So people go into the toilets and actually like stuff their fingers down their throat to try and throw up there and be clean or whatever. Or you just try and do it to like try and just you're meant to make yourself feel better. But I just like the feeling of throwing up just like sucks so much that like it just makes you feel worse to me. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
Like people that do tackies just fucking I don't know.
Wow, I've never heard of that term, but that's disgusting. Yeah, I totally agree with you. For me personally, like don't get me wrong, I'm a nay. I am a nay. I just want to make that clear first. But if I'm going to do it for anything, I'm definitely going to do it for food. I'm not going to do it for like, the night out or whatever, or, any other reason. I'm going to do it for the food, if I were to consider it. If there's some good ass looking cake over there, I'm like, oh,
really?
I'd have to pause for a second,
Bro, just keep on eating. Fuck.
Oh, wow. I guess that's one way to do it. Okay. Now that's all good. Jane, you mentioned at the start, I didn't want to wrap up. You felt the artistry was stepped up from the first film. Is that correct? Or no, it was lost some artistry, I think you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Like the big one was like in the portrayal of violence. How the first one had that dullness to it.
Yeah, that's true actually.
I just think I think the other one lent more into the conventions of like the game making as well, and like like a bit more into the voyeur cameras and like kind of not hugely, but like it kind of lent into like that kind of competition filmmaking type side a bit.
Okay.
Whereas I feel like this one was just like a straight film and didn't really acknowledge that. Like there was no cutaways to Caesar and that like explaining the games. Like it felt like it just because like there is a convention that exists within the world that the first one acknowledges and this one doesn't.
Yes, no, you're actually totally right about that. The games feel very much. I think they do cut away to Plutarch for some plot things, but yeah, the games feel very much like they're just an action scene in themselves, and it's not much wider than that. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I thought you were talking like more about like how in the first one they introduced like District 12 in a really interesting way where they like they cut into different objects and like that you kind of see the faces of the miners for like a few seconds, but here it's more kind of straight where you have like longer scenes and you kind of at the start you're like there's like a sunset shot and there's just kind of conversation between Gale and Katniss.
Yeah,
and like the miners are like integrated like into the background kind of when they walk past them, but it's not like an intentional like montage or anything.
Yeah, well that is part of it as well. Like
okay,
like I was just using the game convention as like another example. Yeah, even like was like even like in terms of like the shaky cam choice about like you don't want to portray the violence, the steady cam, whatever. Like was that upheld to you or not? I don't think it was.
No, I don't think so.
But then again, like I think that maybe that losing that element is fine because Katniss is more of an experienced killer, so like it shows a familiarity or something like that. So I think losing that one is probably a conscious choice, and I think that's fine. Well, obviously everything's a conscious choice in making a film. So losing some things I think is fine like that because I think it enhances this story, although it is that bit more straightforward.
No, I think you're spot on. That's I didn't really think about that, but that's totally true. Those comparisons and the differences are totally there. I don't really see it as an issue for me though. Like I think the film just is so entertaining and flows so well by itself. And we've already talked about the other numerous improvements it makes that it definitely feels different in those ways. I agree, but it doesn't stand out as a negative necessarily for me.
Well, what were the differences between like Gale and Katniss that you guys were talking about earlier? Because I can't remember if I picked up on that.
Well, it's the fact that her unwillingness to lead a fight at this point.
Yeah,
is the first rift, and then that kind of continues in the next one where like it kind of exposes Gale's brutality, and like you see him just wanting to keep going further and further with like his kind of methods, whereas she just wants to find a resolution. That's kind of like that's kind of the difference there, because like I think like. To jump ahead, like the bombs they drop on the Capitol kids, I think that was Gale's idea, which just is obviously like absolutely abhorrent to Katniss.
Well, yeah, and even in this movie, as a flip from the first one, when wait, I want to make sure I get it the right way around. Katniss wants to leave this movie, right? She wants to leave District 12, and Gale's Gale's all about staying and fighting and doing this shit now. Okay, let's get to our final verdicts for the Hunger Games: Catching Fire. Jaden.
To keep this with an 8 kind of feels wrong because I think I gave the first one an 8. This one is stronger than the first one, but like it's still in the same numerical territory.
Yeah.
So I'll cop it in. It'll cop an 8.
It'll cop an 8. All right. That sounds kind of poor, but yeah. I'm gonna give it a strong 8 as well. I really, really thought it was a great movie. I was excited for it, and it lived up to it. I was impressed. Fitzy.
I'll grace it with an 8 as well.
Very elegant. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Oh man, Fitzy, what have you been watching?
I finished watching season 2 of The Bear.
Oh shit!
Which was really amazing. It was like it focuses more on like the camaraderie of like chefs and people working in like a restaurant, and it focuses more on like the love for food, and it's also just more about the process of building like a restaurant and like a culture and a team and stuff.
Nice.
So I think it was like kind of everything you could kind of like predict from the trailer, like being more positive and focused on those elements. Because the first season, well, I still think the first season was like incredible. It is kind of monotone and it's like focused on like intensity and work and that kind of thing. You kind of have like the work-life balance like conversation. You have like cool things like that. You have more like family shit, and like all the characters it adds something to it, like a lot of characters as well. So it kind of does a Euphoria thing where there's 2 or 3 episodes where it just focuses on one character, and you're kind of like, oh, this is like the best fucking episode of the show. It's fucking awesome. But no, yeah, it was like really incredible. So yeah.
Oh, Fitzy, you got me so excited right then. That's awesome. We're gonna jump into it next, I think. And
cool.
That's so good. Literally everything you just said is exactly what I wanted to hear out of this season. So that's awesome. Yeah, totally. That's what I want more from the show. Jaden, what about you?
I watched The Equalizer. I've never had an interest in this movie. I never cared. Oh, sorry, I came way too close there. I was trying to adjust something.
No, you're good. You're good.
I've never had an interest in this movie. I always thought it was stupid, even back 2014 when it was first released. But I've been getting bombarded by ads for number 3 on Twitch. So I caved and I watched it, and it was pretty decent. One of our mates did write a review on Letterboxd that pretty much sums it up. That it does just feel like John Wick's kind of boring brother.
The question is like, is he our mate? Because he's only following 2 out of the 3 people on this show. So
who's he missing?
Oh, you me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I follow him, but he doesn't follow me. It's weird.
That's interesting.
Anyway, keep going. What were we saying about the equalizer?
Which it's a great summary of the film, honestly. But it is still a lot of fun. Denzel's always great to watch. What is it about Denzel Washington where, like, even in just his straightforward performance, there is just something kind of engaging about him?
Oh, 100%.
Is it just the way he talks or something? I don't know. There's got to be something in him that just, like, it just always makes him fun to watch. Like, even when I watched not Fallen, the other one, The Bone Collector a few weeks ago, he literally lies in bed for the entire film because his back's broken, but he's just so great to watch. But yeah, no, it's like The Equalizer did actually end up being quite a bit of fun, but it is kind of John Wick's lesser brother.
All right, that's cool. No, dude, you're spot on about Denzel. At that point, I feel like it's just him as a human being. Like he just is a compelling human. I think that's literally I think all it must be at some point. I don't know if did you watch Ahsoka, Jan? Did you start it?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah,
you did. Okay, cool. I don't know how much I want to go on about it because I don't know how you feel, Jan. I feel like we got to do this on the show.
Actually, I was going to ask that.
I feel like Fitzy and I had Succession.
You should do it when I get to Perth.
It's actually perfect timing. I feel like
October.
It basically end of October. Is it towards the end of October?
Yeah, I think so. It might be.
I think the show will be done. I think that's actually sort of perfect. I think we should do that because Fitzy and I had Succession this year. Plus, I feel like it's like the spiritual successor to our Clone Wars episode 3.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was going to say that too.
Oh man, all right, let's do that. I won't go too much, so let's do that. But I was really into it, really enjoyed it, and the only criticism I have so far is that I just feel like the scenes just have a weird. Some of the scenes just feel too long. Like there's a weird flow to some of the scenes where I feel like it's some of Dave's maybe some interesting sort of transition happening where he's used to working with the animated runtimes. And it's just something's not quite gelling yet in terms of how he paces out a scene. Just really silly stuff like, scenes where characters, walk into a room and pick up an object. Like they just go on like 20 seconds longer than they feel like they should. You know what I mean? It's just sort of, it's a weird thing. You need to watch it to maybe get a feel for it. And it's probably highly subjective as well. But I just feel like there's something weird going on there. And I hope we'll see how that changes and evolves if it does. But everything so far, like character-wise, storytelling-wise, I'm super into. Like the first thing that really struck me is that this is the first Star Wars show that to me really feels like like I'm watching a Star Wars movie. Like it feels like in terms of the storytelling and the scope of it and the characters they're setting up and the plot, and obviously the choice to have a scroll at the start as well was very intentional. Yeah, just all of it just really speaking my language in that respect so far in terms of the stuff on the page as well. And I don't think like budget-wise it looks as good as a movie yet or anything, but sort of everything else is adding up in terms of this does feel like it's going to be. I don't think we're going to have any conversation at the end of this show in our review, Jan, about, oh, that was a filler episode or anything. Like it does feel like it's telling its story in parts, so far at least. Anything that I said resonate with you, or anything you want to make a little time capsule of your thoughts now before we go any further?
Yeah, I think an awkwardness does exist within each scene that kind of exists in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, you're right.
But doesn't in Andor. So I think it's just having that production team of Filoni back as well and doing all that stuff. Yeah. I didn't want to acknowledge it because it's going to annoy me now, and I think it's going to sit there presently for me. Oh, yeah. But I think it does exist, and I'm just I hope it goes away. I hope I don't feel like that in the future. But we'll see.
We'll see. Dave directs only 2 of the episodes in the whole thing.
It was the first. He directed the first.
Directed the first one. Steph Green did the second. But it existed in the second too, which sort of if it was less in the second, I would have more confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll see. There's going to be tons of different directors that come in and do different stuff. So,
I think the interactions between Chopper and Hera.
Oh my god, dude, that
was directly transported from Rebels.
100%. That whole scene was like the writing of it and the performances. Like any skepticism I had about Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Hera went in that scene because it felt so perfect. It was like, oh, they did it. They nailed that. So yeah, no, I was a big fan of that for sure. All right, now comes a segment where we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, which sequel is the most similar to the original movie? Where am I going here? Luke comes in with like the objectively correct answer, and he says Star Wars: The Force Awakens and Star Wars: A New Hope. I don't think that actually, in my some of my research, I don't think there's actually a better answer than this. So thanks for spoiling the discussion, Luke. But hopefully we'll find some other things to discuss. Andy comes in and he says, I thought I would compare the sequel to a film in the series that might not be the first, which is fine, but I believe it to be an original masterpiece, an original classic, and my original movie in terms of my memorability. Once Upon a Time in China 4 is pretty similar to the second film in the series. The second film has a deluded Chinese nationalist cult with their own song/chant, and their main goal is to kill off all white people in China. Wow, gee. Our real-life martial arts legend Wo Fei Hung finds himself saving innocent foreigners and also gets into a main fight with the cult's leader, who the cult members perceive as God. The fourth film has a completely similar subplot with their Chinese nationalist cult who wants to kill white people, but it's filled with chicks, making this the most feminist entry of the series so far. Wong also finds himself rescuing innocent foreigners once again and also gets into a duel with the cult's leader, but she's completely fugly, so whatever happens, she deserves to be killed. That's brutal. Thanks, Andy. That does sound very, very similar, actually. That's a good answer. I never would have, of course, known about because I'm not cultured. What did we come up with for this? Because this actually, I think when we did a question similar to this, I think like a couple of months ago, I had like a shitload of answers. We did. I think we did the opposite, didn't we? We did like what is the
sequel? The most changed.
Yeah.
Right.
That one I had tons of answers. This one was harder. Harder for sure. But yeah, if you came up with anything, Fitzy?
Yeah, well, it was way more difficult than I thought it was. Like I kind of had Scream 2 and 3 like in my head when I thought of the question because those are very similar. But like, yeah, I had to consult Dr. Google for this. Die Hard 2 was one that came up, which was like, a terrorist attack on Christmas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Die Hard 2 is like at an airport. And then like The Hangover Part 2 as well, which is like...
Whoa, they go to Thailand in that one. Come on, that's completely different.
Yeah, like apart from the location, like totally. The plot points are very similar. I think they have to like rescue the same friend. Or maybe it's a different friend. But, it's like this...
I think it is the same friend.
Yeah, right? I think he's like... Oh, I don't want to spoil it, but... They're very similar. But I think like Scream 2 and Scream 3 are... I don't think Scream 2 is that similar to the first Scream. It's like more fun. And like, it's kind of... Yeah, it's less serious. And then Scream 2 and Scream... They have similar like fake outs and stuff. And I think past that point, it gets a bit different. So those are my 3 answers. Yeah.
Sure. When I was scrolling, I thought, like, as someone who's not into the horror genre, but I saw a lot of horror stuff, and I feel like that would have the most potential because I was seeing, like, all the reboots and all the weird shit that those franchises do. I thought for sure there'd be some good answers there, which is why I thought Jaden might have a good answer.
Like slashers in general, like Halloween 2, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween came up.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, Friday the 13th, 4 and 5. I think.
Oh my god.
Actually, I can't remember specifics because that series does just blend together so much. No, I went for a more recent kind of batch of films. I did look at Scream as well, but I picked Scream 5 and similar to Scream 1.
I was thinking that, but
oh no. Yeah, like there is that degree of difference, but I think in terms of the Woodsboro setting and just I don't know, the opening is very much up for sure. Like it I think it is. It's very similar. The other one I chose was Avatar: The Way of Water. Is the same film, just graphically reimagined.
Yeah, I can see it.
Reintroduction to a new group of Pandorans. Still got Stephen Lang trying to kill him. Still got Jake Sully being a cuck.
Jake Sully? Yeah, but Stephen Lang's blue this time, though.
Same, same. Exactly, graphical reimagination.
Yeah.
But same story. Yeah.
I don't think my answer's very good. I had The Matrix Resurrections for being similar to the first one, which kind of is. You know what I mean? Wait, Jane, were you thumbing down the movie or my answer?
Your answer.
Thanks, dude.
No, there's validity there. I did glance over it.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a great answer, but yeah, no, there's definitely similarities. And for some reason, I feel like 22 Jump Street's similar to 21.
Oh yeah.
Not like in everything or anything, but all those movies follow a very similar structure where, well, first of all, like, huge shout out to Ice Cube because he's hilarious. But he comes back and they go to the same place and they get a mission, and then that makes sense, of course. But I think all those films follow a very similar structure where the characters sort of split up and have different connections, and then they end up having a falling out, in between the second and third act, at the end of the second act, and then they come together and
Right. The only difference is like who's cool and who's in the cool group.
exactly,
And, like,
exactly.
The film like switches.
Yeah, exactly. Which is great. I mean, I like those movies. I enjoy them. But yeah, those two came to mind for me. But I struggled. I'm not gonna lie.
Along the same lines of that, I had Bad Neighbours 1 and 2 in mind as well.
Oh, I haven't seen those, but that doesn't surprise me. They're not called Bad Neighbours anywhere else, are they?
No, they're just called Neighbours internationally.
Yeah,
but obviously we have Neighbours.
Well, we did. Or I think we still do. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know.
No problem. As always, we'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, and or reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section or the Instagram comments, or join the Discord server. This week, the specific question we'll be asking you is, God, we're going to have to devote some time to this next week, I think. What is your...
Well, actually, I request that I'm gonna put a link in the Discord in the question of the week, and I request everyone fills out that link and then sends through the final image as their answer.
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
And that actually, like, completely, it's like a science at this point. Like, first question of the week where you have to know subjective thinking. It's just right there. Yeah. No, that's cool. Algorithms. That's nice. Yeah. What is your favorite Pokemon? Imagine if next week we were just doing like Citizen Kane or something, like something not connected at all.
Well, that plays into the joke because like Spooky mentioned how because I think it was Indiana Jones the episode that he's like, someone mentioned it's funny how we go from like talking about a classic to talking about Pokemon. It's like that would fit the joke.
I guess so. Yeah. But alas, we're not actually. Well, I mean, hey, maybe we'll pick another Pokemon question in a random week. Why not? But anyway, that's not what's going on here. Fitzy, what are we doing next week?
We're doing Jaden's favorite film of all time, Detective Pikachu, which has landed recently on Netflix, but it's also on Foxtel and Paramount Plus.
Nice. Have you seen it, Fitzy?
No,
I haven't either. Cool. All right. Can't wait to come in and shit on it.
It's going to be a terrible experience.
Oh, man. No, Ken Watanabe's in it, right? That'll be great.
Yeah. So how familiar, because I think, Zach, you're a bit more familiar with the series than Liam is, right?
With Pokemon? Like the anime?
With Pokemon. No, but just with the games or anything in general in regards to it.
Yeah.
I've been like 3 of the games, I think.
Yeah, because you played up like 2, like at least Gen 6, right? 7 maybe?
I don't know which one's which. I beat, the last one I beat Let's Go Eevee on my Switch, and then before that I beat, like X and Y was my first big one for me.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good because you'll have a bit more familiarity with some of the Pokemon in it, which is what I was worried. Oh. Because people tend to complain about, like, I don't know these Pokemon. Well, obviously you don't fucking know the Pokemon. You watched it once 20 years ago and then you jumped in and out.
Right. Okay.
You know?
Okay. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's good.
So Liam may have that issue, though.
I've played fucking Heart Gold Soul Silver, Black 2.
Yeah, fucking Gen 4. Gen 6 now.
I played Moon.
Black 2.
Played Moon.
I played Moon.
Son of Moon. What's that, Gen 7? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I better flex my knowledge.
Okay. Okay, good.
God, next week's going to be
So no complaining about who these Pokemon are.
Oh, no, I will definitely complain. I don't know any Pokemon.
Oh my God, I'm looking forward to it. All right, that's it for this week's episode. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate Liam and Jaden for joining me as always. Have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.